All right, so today what I'm going to walk you guys through is setting up an Ethereum node on your Proxmox instance. So you might ask, one, why Ethereum? And the answer to that is, I think because it's a good example of kind of how you can use Docker, which is something else that we're going to use to set this up. And it has some interesting things within it. So, the applications here are pretty broad, but so it's really kind of a tutorial in setting up any kind of Docker container on a Proxmox instance. And two, you might ask why Proxmox? And I think Proxmox is an amazing hypervisor. It's free, or there's a paid version, but I think that's more for if you're a grown up and you do this for work. But for us that are kind of just kicking around in the Homeland community, it's a cool tool to just kind of have and in the arsenal. One of the big benefits I find Proxmox is just being able to kind of do what I'm doing right now, experiment with a new machine and experiment with a new OS, kind of kick something around and not really worry about how long it's going to last. I can kind of easily destroy and create machines at will. So anyway, without further ado, let's just get going creating this thing here. First thing I got is wonderful Proxmox. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna create a VM here. So I'm gonna go to create VM. I'm gonna call this Ethereum test because that's what it is. It's an Ethereum test. I'm gonna do Ubuntu. I'm doing the actual live server image. I do have the cloud image somewhere, but where is this here? That's the cloud image, but we're not gonna do that. We're gonna go ahead and just use 20.04 Ubuntu. System-wise, we leave this stuff default. I'm going to go and I'm going to give this. So this is the trick, the disk size. So let's see, what's the Ethereum blockchain node? What's the current Ethereum blockchain size? I think it's probably pretty large these days. Blockchain size. This looks like a reputable website. Maybe not. Who knows? That has not been updated for a long time. All right, so let's ignore that guy. Somebody's got this information somewhere. I mean, let's just say, all right, let's just assume, I'm going to have to look for like an hour for you guys, but yeah, let's just assume it's like a terabyte, but I'm just going to create the VM with 100 gigabytes. So what you're going to want to do if you're doing this is you're going to want to set it up as a terabyte drive. I'm also picking, I'm going to put this on my LVM pool right here. Notice my ZFS pool called the noob array. Anyway, cores, I'm going to give it 16 CPU cores. Memory, I'm going to get 16 gigs. 16,000. This is gigabytes. So that's it. Blah, 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 blah. Next. And finish. So while that's creating, I'm going to go ahead and pull up. Actually, it shouldn't take that long. So let's see. Where is it? Why am I missing this? 106. Oh, there it is, e-test. All right, cool. So I'm going to fire this guy up right here. And while it's loading with the console, I'm going to go ahead and check out the Docker docs. And we're going to take a look at what it takes to install Docker. So it's usually pretty easy, actually. Installation per distro, Ubuntu. Believe it or not, this is what even software engineers like me do. I spend a lot of time just looking at documentation and looking at code examples and those kind of things. So we're going to go through all of this crap once we get this guy booted. So it's still trying to boot. Yeah, it looks like it's having an issue. Nope, there it goes. Yay! Wait, did I? I'm not booting on cloud net, am I? No, I'm not. Okay, yeah. I had me for a second there. So we should see this guy start up. It's going to take a little while longer. The cool thing is we can just copy and paste these docs. That's one of the cool things about docs. Oh, here we go. All right, so go ahead and select English here. I'm going to go ahead and continue without updating. Why would we do that? Continue. Yeah, I'm going to put it there. Take note of this IP, 192.168.1.200. So we're going to go ahead and do that, which is fine. No proxy. No, I'll use that as a mirror. Use the whole disk. done. So I continue, continue. I'm going to name it foo. Server name is going to be foo machine. Yeah, we'll call it eFood. eFoo. Username is always me. Password is going to be 12345 because who cares? 12345, and then that's it. Yeah. Oh, install SSH. Don't worry about that right now. I don't need this crap. Let's just do it. Installing system. All right, so it's doing its job now when it's installing. So let's come back in a few. So let's see. Let's check on a trusted little machine here. All right, so install is completed. They need me to remove the CD-ROM. I'm going to go in here. I'm just going to go to my hardware, drop the CD-ROM, just like that, and then I'm going to just do a reboot. There it goes. All right, so if I guys remember the actual the IP address that we talked about earlier, but hopefully you do, 192.168.1.200. Right now I'm just waiting for this machine to boot here, and it looks like it is there. So just that quick and kind of see it come just like that. I'm going to go flip over to my terminal here, and we're going to do SSH JS4 at 192.168.1.200. Was that it? Let's see if it's up. Oh, there it is. It's up. We're going to take the fingerprint. Password is, do we do 6 digits? Oh, just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Perfect. So now we're logged in. This is a brand new Ubuntu instance, which is pretty cool. Lets you kind of do whatever you want from here. So this also has internet, ping google.com, so we can see that it works actually from the internet, which is wonderful. Next step here is, if you guys remember correctly, we're going to go ahead and look at these Docker docs and get some crap installed. So I'm going to do, I'm going to flip it back over the terminal here so you guys can see. I'm just copying and pasting literally what's in the other docs here. So we're going to update. So see, we get update. Oops. Update, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then we're going to just update. It'll take a second to run this. Just that quick. Next thing we're going to do is kind of install this bare minimum packages that they want you to run. The T there is a fat finger. It should just be Y. Apologize. I've just run this so often that I've just completely forgot it. We're going to grab the GPG key for Ubuntu, and really what this key is, it's actually something kind of important that you may not know a lot about, but basically the GPG key is something that you want to make sure that you check in production environments. In a home lab, it's not as important, but basically what you're verifying is with each of the packages, there's also a signed a signature, basically, that's created with the package when the package is completed and compiled and everything. And that signature is actually signed by a private key. It's just public private key encryption to make sure that, in fact, the package you are downloading has not been tampered with by anybody else, which is pretty critical. So if you're in a production environment, especially if you're running like a node or something like that, this is something that you definitely want to kind of check out. I'm just putting in here to make it easier. So we're going to check the actual fingerprint, just like this guy right here, just to see it. And then we're going to go ahead and add the repository for Docker. So just like that, it should be done. They're going to ask us for an update, apt get update, just like that, pretty straightforward. This will take a second, and then we're going to install all of this crap. So we're going to install Docker CE, Community Edition Docker. There's an Enterprise Edition, which I think is just Docker with enterprise support. I'm not really sure exactly what else comes with CE, but the CLI is a good tool because that's the thing that lets you handle it. And then the containerd.io is another thing that we're going to want as well. So all of this crap is going to install. I'm basically going to tell it to yes, do it. And it should go. in a second. Let's see. No, we're gonna go. We're gonna go here. We're gonna go. Oh, it's gonna take a little while. Why is it taking so long? All right, cool. So one other thing we're going to also do is, so when you do this install, there's actually a group that Docker creates for you. It's called the Docker group. So what we're going to do is we're going to actually add my user to that group. Because if I run something like docker, ps, I'll get permissions denied. Whereas if I run sudo docker ps, the command will work because I'm actually able to access that socket. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually run sudo, and then we're going to do leads a g, and then the group is docker, I believe, and then me. So I'm going to add me to the docker group. What did I screw this up? Oops, so it's user mod. What am I doing? Wow, I completely forgot that. And then what you have to do is you have to sign back in. And now we have access to Docker. Hooray! So one other thing we're going to want to do is grab Docker Compose. Now, so Docker Compose is something that's really important. Did it have search Docker Compose install? Literally, there's no reason for me to memorize this. So I'm just going to do Linux, and it's usually just a curl command. So one thing you can do with Docker is you can kind of type a bunch of stuff. I just copied and pasted this in the terminal, but what am I doing? Oh, there it is. Yeah, there it is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, one thing that Docker does a great job at is you get this really great endpoint where you're able to kind of do some cool stuff. Yeah, so one thing that Docker does a great job at is it gives you a great CLI tool, but you have to have a lot of switches and stuff. And I find that Docker Compose is a great additional tool that kind of just lets you write one config file that's relatively easy to kind of share and move around without having to copy and paste. And you can build some elaborate networks and stack structures using Docker Compose. So I prefer to actually use it when I'm kind of working on some home lab stuff. And I have directories with a bunch of stacks. Anyway, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to go ahead and we're going to, I think it's sudo. I'm going to install NeoVim, I think it is. Yeah, because NeoVim is cooler than older Vim, oldo Vim. Yeah, so we'll get this guy installed real quick. Pretty straightforward. Does not take too long. And then I want to create a directory. I'm going to call this ETH node, and I'm going to go ETH node, just like that. Then I'm going to create docker-compose.yml file. Now, these files are pretty straightforward, and you can read the docs on how to do this, but I've wrote a lot of these before, so it's a lot easier for me to remember. But it's version is the first thing you're going to do, and there's 3, which is the version 3 of actually Docker Compose. Services, we're going to go ahead and use geth, which is, this is an arbitrary name for actually geth, which is Go Ethereum. It's the kind of Ethereum, I guess, prescribed client. So, and then we're going to go check out on the geth sites. We'll flip over the browser. So we'll go to the docker geth Ethereum. I'm going to check the geth node. Let's see. No, that's not what we need. Oh, let's see. Installing geth. Installing geth. Docker hub geth. It's all about the searching, folks. It's all about the searching. This is literally what most software engineers do all day. Geth. Go. What do you call it? I think it's called like Ethereum client Go. Oops. Ethereum client, is that what it's called? Docker. This is just the kind of boring. Oh, there it is, right there. Ethereum, sweet. Okay, client go. Okay, Ethereum client go is literally what it's called. So we're gonna grab this guy. We're gonna do image, which is telling me to use this. Telling it to use a specific image. And I'm gonna pick a version here. I'm gonna pick the actual. I'll just do latest. It's always at the latest version. So it's always gonna pull the latest version down. Pretty straightforward. The commands. So there's kind of a lot in Geth. I'm actually just going to pull up here the side. I'm going to pull up some existing command that I have kind of stored, and we're just going to use that here. And I'll kind of walk you guys through this. So from the beginning here, GraphQL is just turning on a GraphQL query. Queryable interface. So you don't have to use the kind of the old way of dealing with it. You're going to want, this is binding it to port to IP 0000, which is very important because otherwise it's really kind of hard to get Docker to work when you have servers inside of the container if you're not binding a specific port. Binding a specific IP, and you want to bind it to not localhost but 0000. This is just kind of one of those things that ends up, wasting a bunch of your time at some point, and you just do by default. So the rest of this stuff, this is just a GraphQL port, GraphQL. This is the actual port value. And interesting thing is you'll see here, like basically in this command concept, you're able to split each of these parameters up into separate items on this array, which is pretty cool. vhost, that's basically saying take host from anybody across the CORS domain, from anybody. Cache is 4 gigs. So pretty straightforward. I'm going to go ahead and add a volume. And the volume that we want to add is basically to create some persistence, because one thing about Docker is if you run inside the container, oh, you guys are not seeing anything I'm doing here. Wow. Oh man, that sucks. I was talking the whole time. You guys didn't see any of that. That kind of is a pain in the ass. So I apologize for that, but first stream, folks. Yeah. So anyway, you'll see basically the issue with Docker is if you don't basically the state inside the container goes with the container, meaning that if you delete the container, you'll delete the state. But what you can actually do is you can mount a drive from outside of the container to inside of the container, which means that you can now kill and bring the containers up and down and just use that same state every time. So what we're going to do is we're actually just going to create a volume here. And we're going to just do, we'll call it Ethereum node, right? And that's on the outside of the container. I'm going to basically take the folder that is ETH node and mount it to inside the container to roots/.ethereum. And the reason why I know that is because I've set this up before. So I just know that that's the actual path. Ports, these are going to be ports that we're going to expose on the outside. So we'll do, I believe it's, what port do we need? I think it's like 80 something. Let's see, tell us. Oh, 8045. So 8045 on the outside, and then we'll do this one as well. This one's for peering. So this is the one you're going to want to open up and direct at this box if you can. So I'll write that compose file. Oops. And quit. And so if you remember, what I said is in the main directory here, you'll see there is no presence of Ethereum. So I'll talk to you in a second. Sorry, I had another kid bust in. It's just a regular occurrence, but let's get back to it. All right, so where we left it off was I was basically showing you guys that there is no directory here. You'll see. You don't see any directory for Ethereum. If you remember correctly, in our Docker compose file, we actually mounted this volume, this directory as a volume to on the outside of the container to inside the container, the root/Ethereum directory. Now watch this. If we go to ETH node here, docker compose up geth. Oh, permission to that. I think I gotta. Oh man, I gotta do. I do impression. Always read the docs, folks. Always read the docs. It's pretty clear right here. It says in step 2 of the install that you have to actually set the permission, the chmod on the Docker Compose. So, oops. Yeah, okay, so now it works. Now it definitely works. All right, cool. Here we are. We're back. Now, where was I? So if we do Docker Compose up-get, it's going to basically pull this image. Should pull it relatively quickly. Now the node is running. So now we're basically syncing. You'll see a few errors, and then it'll basically just recover itself. This is from USB. It's basically trying to get a Trezor or a Ledger USB. Now it's going to sync, and this will take a little while to sync. I think it took me on my other machine. It took me probably a day to sync everything. This is syncing with Warp, but I was on a ZFS array. I'm just going to cancel it because I don't necessarily want to sit here and watch this whole thing sync with you guys. But one thing I want to show you is if we go back to the main directory, you'll see that, well, maybe you don't see. Do we do volumes? VLLUMES, ETH node. Oh, that's because it's not the home directory. What am I doing? Duh. So yeah, if you look at the home directory, you'll see the ETH node directory actually is right there. Looking us right in the face. So basically, if we look at the directory, you'll see a bunch of stuff in it. This is you actually don't have permissions because it's set by root inside the container. So we can see it's modded. We can kind of do some modifications if we wanted to, but I think you get the idea. So the general consensus is now we have this ETH node docker compose file, which you can go ahead and use to do whatever you want, which is pretty cool. That's kind of the conclusion of kind of how this works. I just want to show you guys the concept here. But we'll do some more screencasts later with some more information, hopefully. It's my first one, so we'll try that. Thank you. Take it easy.